So, welcome everybody to Beyond Appearance. Today it's a very special episode because we have a very special guest. And we have here Sue Marie. Let me tell you more about Sue Marie. We are going to read her biography. I am with Diana, my sister. And Sue Marie is a fashion consultant, sustainability educator, international speaker, founder of Dazzle Image Consulting and Dazzle Business Forums. Recognized as one of Australia's fashion sustainability leaders, she assists the transition to a fashion circular economy. Sue works with government, industry, universities, founders of innovations and technology, and businesses to accelerate the transition to a more sustainable fashion future.
As a global chair of the AICI Global Sustainability Committee, Sue leads an international team for 8 countries to advance sustainability education to members across 32 countries. She's a former AICI Australia Chapter Board member and recipient of the 2023 AICI Global Philanthropy Award for her contribution to fashion sustainability, education, and global leadership, and has been an ICI member since 2018.
Sue is a regular participant at the Global Fashion Summit in Copenhagen, Denmark, and a member and attendee of both global business summits. Sue has built a substantial network of local, national, and international connections that helps create new circular economy communities while presenting global updates to businesses and industry groups. Welcome, dear Sue, and thank you very much for your time and everything you are going to share with our community.
Thank you very much, ladies. It is lovely to be here. Viviana and Diana, thank you so much.
Thank you. And I also want to tell you how did I meet Sue. We met her at the Latin American Congress at Chile. And I remember very clear that I had this purpose that Mavi, my English mentor, told me to start speaking in English whenever I can. So when I saw Sue, I did not hesitate to invite her to have lunch with us. And I realized that not only she is a crack, as we already read for you her biography, but a very lovely person. And I found very interesting that we had something in common. Sue worked in banking and finances until her 40s, right, Sue? So I have this question because I changed my career when I was near 30, but what inspired you? What makes you, I don't know, change the direction of your career? Because I found that you have an impressive resume just in this part of image consultant. So, wow.
No
I
doubt
can
the
imagine.
financial world was exactly the same.
So what inspired you?
Yes, well, whilst I was working in the banking industry, I was always busy sewing in my spare time. I love to sew, and I told my family at the age of 15 that all I wanted to do was be a fashion designer. And at that time, there wasn't really very many places to learn to be a fashion designer and study. So it just was always my hobby. But once I had my own family and I was still sewing for my 3 daughters, I decided to formally study at university when I was in my 40s because I could see a big gap in the market with young teenage girls where they wanted to go to a special occasion, but the only dresses in Australia that were available were dresses that were way too old for them. And my friends were saying the same things. Where are you finding a dress for their school graduation when they were only 12 years old before they moved into higher education? And so I decided that this was going to be my time in fashion. So I studied for 3 years and created a label for young teenage girls. And I had that for a long time. And during the school holidays, what I wanted to do was to help young girls with their wardrobes. I could see my girls were struggling with what to wear to work experience and what did the work industries expect of them to wear. And so I became a stylist. I studied and certified and also joined AICI to get further education. And it wasn't until the pandemic hit that I had already closed my shop at that point, but joining the board of the Australia chapter in an education capacity, my role was to educate. I said, well, sustainability is the most important thing. And so what you've read in my bio has happened really in the last 5 years.
And that's amazing. And that's the main reason why I invited Sue, because she's a leader in this important topic. We are going to talk about the new future for luxury fashion and beauty. And I think it's very important to make people aware of not only what's going on, but to make better choices, to buy less, to be more conscious. And I don't know if you have we were talking with Diana that how did you get into this world? First into fashion and then into sustainability.
Well, during the pandemic where I live, we were in lockdown in Melbourne, Australia for nearly 2 years. And it did give me the ability to read a lot. But there was suddenly, for the first time in around 2021, a lot of data, a lot of evidence, and a lot of governments around the world, I was realizing, were saying for the first time they have a fashion waste problem from what most people know is fast fashion. And I just kept exploring and researching and trying to understand, well, we've always worn clothes, but why is this waste problem now? Why are we buying so many clothes? And so I just really personally was so interested. And because I had the role to educate others, I just took the responsibility on myself. And I thought this is a really big problem that people should know about. And so I started to interview people who I thought were leaders in sustainability around the world. And some of those people were within AICI from other parts of the world. I said, well, what's going on there? Because I couldn't see it here. And no one was really traveling very much. And it's not something that you could just jump on a plane to go and see. You had to understand the facts and the data. And so it just really became my new lived passion to just explore. So I really have just taken every opportunity that has come my way, and I have looked for opportunities as well. And the Global Fashion Summit in Copenhagen was just one of those things that really catapulted me into realizing that this is a really big problem. And so I've been really motivated to share what I learned there with the Australian fashion industry. And so I've, then taken that information to fashion festivals, and instead of standing and talking about it, I show people. I've done exhibitions to show, for example, where our clothes are made from, how our clothes made. And it really came from the idea that clothes is from farm to fashion, because natural fibers do come from the ground. And so, luxury is obviously a very big part of the industry. And so I've been attending the Vogue business summits that are held internationally, and also meeting with a lot of other countries has really helped me to have a bird's eye view, like an overarching understanding of not only from the consumer point of view, but from the people running these countries, and then the governments. So the governments come to these conferences. And so I just have a lot of knowledge, and I just find ways to share it, whether it's through speaker panels or exhibitions or repair workshops, even, helping people to thread a needle and sew on a button, whether you buy luxury clothing or you're in a a lower price point. Caring for our clothes is a very big part of sustainability.
Yeah, I totally agree that this is a big problem, and I have to admit that I wasn't aware of that until I started receiving conference, and that's why I thought this is very important. And thank you once again for everything that you are doing, because I know that it's a big job, and it's very important to educate people, because as I wasn't aware before, and now I always try to make conscious acquisitions. I think, from my perspective as an image consultant, that we are also we have this important mission to make our clients to help our clients to make more conscious decisions. Yes.
Yes, in my role, in the global role that I have on the Sustainability Committee, the 8 countries who I'm working with is because that's where our members are. And so if I empower them with the information and help them to understand why, and then give strategy about how to help their local communities, and as an image consultant, how to take this information, into the wardrobe. It's about transition. And if I can educate them, it's like they can share the news, and then they share the news, and it just keeps going. And so, yeah, I really value that role. And it also helps me to understand what they are experiencing. So I listen a lot. So it's not just me telling, I listen what is going on in where you live. And it helps me to educate wider as well. And I just get more perspective.
Step by step, we're going to improve the situation, hopefully. So, Sue,
Yeah.
how is the concept of luxury changing in the fashion and beauty industries?
Yes, and you would think that it wouldn't change, but actually, it's not even about the product. It's about, we now have millennials who are their biggest target market. You are a different generation to myself. When I was your age, for example, we would really value the highest quality of craftsmanship. We would value the heritage. Prestige and status came with having a designer handbag. But millennials don't think that way. You're more about trust and authenticity, and you want a premium experience and you want high standards. But because of sustainability, you're more aware of where did this product come from? Who made this? So how can I trace this? Personalization has been a very big shift. It might be an initial or something that's sentimental. Whereas luxury used to be, just a new collection might come out, or a particular handbag, and they might have a new name about it. But now we don't see value in that. And so we are looking for different things. And so the marketing for luxury brands has had to shift. So we can talk about a handbag, but we can also talk about beauty products in luxury. And so here we are also a big shift, because what we used to look for was something aspirational. We would look at the supermodels and we might look at a glamorous lifestyle and want to mirror that. But what we now want, we want something that's going to give us vitality. We are looking at wellness differently. And we want scientific, proven, clinical information, because we know on our phone and through the internet that we have this information. So we are much more aware of what are we putting on our skin? What are the lasting effects of this? Not just looking at a pretty gold bottle because it looks pretty and that I have bought something from Chanel. it goes much, much deeper than that now. And when it comes from the sustainability element with makeup, we're looking, is it a refillable bottle? Is this going to be recyclable? What is this packaging? And so we do look for many things.
So it is possible to a brand and remain exclusive while also becoming more sustainable?
Well, I think sustainability means something different to everyone. And I think a, a sustainable brand is can be marketed that way, and they can remain exclusive, but how do you bring sustainability into that? So there's two issues right now. Brands, the luxury brands are mostly out of Europe, and there's legislation not only in Europe but around the world that's changing the way they can even make clothing, handbags, makeup, packaging. So the rules are about extending the life of the garment or the product. So it's called an extended producer responsibility legislation. And some people know it as the EPR, that's the letters. So brands are having to take on new responsibilities in their supply chains and their fabric choices, and to be very transparent about where these products are being made. So they can remain exclusive, but they have new responsibilities as well. And the other issue that they have is the pre-loved market. So another reason why luxury are struggling to remain exclusive and sustainable is that one of the principles of sustainability is to reuse and sell an old handbag through online markets or shops. And so it's harder to remain exclusive because the entry point to luxury is the lowest it's ever been.
Yeah. So I kind of no, I agree when you say that now people are looking for wellness, not only the package. And I think it was something of my age because nowadays I look for that. I look at the textile where the
Where it comes from,
yeah,
what
as you said
material,
before, what materials do they use?
even for the babies, her baby, my nephews, what are they wearing? We don't, you don't buy clothes for babies in any store that
Or
you don't
product.
know, you don't know where it came from.
I want to know everything, the shampoo, the lotion,
Yeah,
everything.
yeah.
So
Nowadays we look for everything, every ingredient, every material in everything really. Food, clothes, beauty products, and we try to use more natural products now.
yeah, so how can people make more conscious purchasing decisions without giving up their personal style?
Well, I think personal style has always been there, sustainability or not. Doesn't matter whether we're in, wartime or, warfare time. I think style has always been there. It's how you practice that. And I think that the style element um, in luxury or really any type of clothing, so no matter what the price point, can come down to color and lifestyle and, versatility. So I always say that, you know, I guess I've never always had, a lot of money to spend on clothes, but no one would know that because I think your style can remain no matter what. I think that, yes, you can sort of look for inspiration in luxury because, the marketing is, very attractive. But I think personally, to be true to yourself, um, and to have your own identity is still very important, and even more so probably these days. Um, but I do, love the fact that we have more knowledge about color, fashion and image consultants can assist with that. And, we can have a lot of clothes in our wardrobes that we don't even wear. And it wouldn't matter how much you paid for them. So I think to understand your style with your lifestyle and, creating an affordable wardrobe, but one that has versatility around it. So you're not always having to buy new things all the time. I think even when I was doing fashion styling, um, helping others, they were always sort of principles that I had to help people and, having a specific shopping list, not just buying for the sake of buying and really honing in on, how your colours were going to work within the wardrobe. So I think this just applies whether it's luxury or not.
I love that part.
Yeah.
We as an image consultants have the important role to educate our clients. And yes, when we know our personal style, our colors, we stop buying because of tendencies, but because what really matches our style.
Yeah, I think
Yes.
as image consultants is a challenge for us to, as Viviana said, educate people and try to change the tip that you don't have to throw away that cloth because you already use it or because something is like have a little hole that put the idea that we can give a second chance to our clothes or purses. If yeah, there are so many ways now to give a second chance to our clothes, our wardrobe, that I think that as image consultants, that's our mission nowadays.
And without being aware of this situation, I I was joking with Diana because when we were younger, we used to apply the circular economy with Andrea too, and with our best friends because when we have, for example, a shirt that we were tired of using it, then Andrea will say, I want it, okay. But yeah, because we were sisters and our best friends.
Friends.
Because I think it's for me the more struggling part was this idea of wearing clothes of second pre-loved clothes. I have to admit, but as I gain or as I have more information, because I'm like the energy, this part that that cloth has the energy, but then I realized that it doesn't matter if you wash the clothes very good. Yeah, it it doesn't have to bother the client, but it's something that when I have spoken with some clients, I have some clients that tell me this, that I don't want pre-loved
Yeah, I don't want
clothes or um yeah, like
basically people it's like this reject the idea to use somebody else's clothes. So yeah, I think that we have to empower that um upcycling your own clothes. You can transform it from a pant to a short or something like that, so you don't have to buy someone else's clothes, but your own clothes you can transform it.
Yes, well, I say, versatile clothing. And I think versatile comes for me in three ways. It can be a versatile style, because if you have a dress that perhaps is not so fitted, but you might have a belt so that, over a longer period of time, you can still wear the dress even if you've put on some weight or you've lost some weight, that, just a simple belt makes a piece of clothing very versatile, and also that you can wear it more casually, but you can elevate it with jewelry or, add a jacket, but it might be the same t-shirt, but how it can be versatile in your wardrobe versus, the design. Look for elements that, yes, you might be able to take a sleeve off or take the hem up or, change the design. Yeah, all the colors, versatile colors, block colors, neutral colors, colors that are either cool or warm, that will always go with each other. So I think versatility is really important. But the care for our clothing is a really big part of sustainability, is how we launder our clothes. If we could educate people more about looking after clothes, then they wouldn't maybe fall apart. I think people expect everything just to go in the washing machine. People don't have the time to hand wash clothes anymore. Or, in Australia, we have wash bags that, your delicate items you would put in a little bag with a zip, that's still can be washed within the bag, but it protects the clothing. With my three daughters, we have, at times a lot of cheap clothing, but no one's ever thrown anything out because it's broken. It's that care is a big element of sustainability as well, and thinking a bit different about how to upcycle and redesign. Yeah.
And totally important. We also have
those bags
those
for
bags.
wash our clothes.
My mom taught us. Yes. But when you were speaking about versatility, I don't know if you had the chance at the Congress in Chile to see this, how Cambalache, this brand that has sustainable clothes. Actually, I bought 2 pieces because from 2 pieces I have like 16, because it was a shirt that you can put the collar or take it out, or the sleeve. Yeah, or that. I haven't seen that before, and I was, yeah, really amazed. I already have used that
in 3 different ways.
3 different ways. I was going to wear it today, but it was dirty. But yeah, I absolutely love it. So I know that more brands are more conscious about this situation, and we have a lot of options. So that's the important part, that there's so many things we can do, and the benefits are for us.
Yeah, so what role do innovation, traceability, and the circular economy play in the future of luxury?
Yeah, well, traceability is going to be a very big thing, because legislation across Europe is about the digital passport that clothing is going to have. It's going to be a QR code that will be on clothing, so that as a buyer, you will know exactly what fabric is made of, or the leather, whatever it's made of, and where it's made, and the whole supply chain. So traceability is going to be a very big thing in the future, and they are right now innovating how to do that, because even a pair of socks is harder to put a QR code on than perhaps another item of clothing. So I know in the Netherlands, there've been 2 years in development of how to put a QR code on a sock that won't wash off and won't, we can't cut it off. It won't, and so one of the reasons, not just about knowing what's in the garment, it's actually for recyclability, because the recyclers of the world, it doesn't matter whether it's luxury or a really cheap garment, recyclers need to, in time, when the garment is at its end of life, be recycled. But not all clothing can be recycled the same way. Yeah. And for example, cotton is recycled very differently to polyester. But if you've got fabric with cotton and polyester in the same fabric, it has to be dealt with differently again. And so traceability is going to be one of the biggest innovations that they have to adhere to. It's the law right now. And so, but the innovation around circular economy comes from the upcycling. And I saw just recently in Copenhagen when I was at the summit, uh, the parent company LVMH, they put on the catwalk a collection of clothing from clothes they did not sell. So they can make clothing and it doesn't sell. And what do they do with it? So they commissioned a designer to change the designs, and they put 20 garments out on stage. It wasn't actually a catwalk. When we go to these summits, we actually don't usually talk about clothing. We don't see the clothing. We're talking policy and legislation. But for the first time, we actually saw clothes on the stage to show that luxury are taking this seriously and they are taking steps to become circular in their own inventory, so that they value the fabrics that they tried to sell in one form, but now it has to be in another form. So, yeah, innovation is critical to luxury right now, how they're going to move with the times.
So many ideas coming to my mind. First of all, for our community, if somebody here doesn't know what circular economy is, Sue, could you explain very simple what
So,
is circular economy?
yeah, it's about one item having the most life that you can get from that before the end of life. So, how do we do that? It's to repair, reuse, and when we recycle, that can actually become a new fiber or a new product to start all over again. So it's to reduce having new fabric. It helps to reduce the resources that we use to make new, with water, energy, plants, animals, and all those impacts.
Yeah.
So I say the three words is reuse or repair, reuse, recycle
Recycle, yeah.
is a circular
So,
economy model.
so remember, it's not to fabric, buy, use, and throw it. It has to be circular. I was shocked when I learned that to make a jean, how many liters of water? I was like, oh my God, I'm going to have one jean from now on. Yeah,
Yes,
it's shocking. So I
yes.
invite you, our community, to continue learning about this amazing topic. Um, yeah, it's very important to have conscience. And the other thing that you were saying that is in the law already, that most brands have to have this awareness. What about the greenwashing? Also, what is the percentage of companies that just to obey or to do the right
Try to
thing?
look
Yes,
sustainable.
because everyone, there's the law and there's how to break the law. What is the
Correct.
percentage of greenwashing nowadays?
It's very high.
Oh,
It's really, really high.
so we have another
And
fish.
yeah, and so the laws are changing how you can market a product as well. And so this will take time because, if you see the word eco-friendly, sustainable on a product, you think it's a good choice.
Yeah.
But this is where the digital passport is proof of that garment, if it's a sustainable product or not. So it's just going to take time. But brands are being penalised now across Europe if they do not put the correct facts. So in time, this will change. But like anything, it's a system change. It's a huge ecosystem that people want to be seen to be sustainable. And even just 1% principle that they might use recycled fabric. They'll say, I'm a sustainable brand just because I've used recycled fabric. But there's so many other parts to sustainability. It's almost like you need a 10-point checklist because, you know, a lot of brands might only tick one box
Wow.
and say they're sustainable. So this is where the consumers are becoming more aware, and we can research very easily. And so brands are starting to realize that the greenwashing is something that they can't do like they used to. We're onto them now.
Yeah. And what practical advice would you give to someone who wants to make more sustainable fashion and beauty choices?
Well, it's really just about research. I think, you know, we do know a lot already. And I think it just comes down to your own personal values and how important is it to you? Because some people, you know, it means more to them or they have more knowledge. Some people are completely unaware. You know, we don't all get this in a classroom at school. This is like understanding finance or understanding how a car works. You know, not everyone is that interested or invested. So it's really comes down to a lot of your personal research. But as these laws are sweeping the world right now, you'll have to do less research because, you know, policy has to be adhered to. And so you won't have to worry as much because when you go into a shop, then you'll know, for example, if they're a B Corp certified business or they have some sort of high standard. You know, a lot of countries have different standards, but if you know what your country's highest standard of production is, you just have to look for that tag on the clothing. So B Corp certified is the highest standard right now across the world. And it's a long, long checklist that they have to prove through the whole supply chain, including worker conditions.
Yeah.
That they adhere to the highest of standards, and it's a score that they get, and as long as they reach, you know, over 80 on this checklist, then they can have a classification of B Corp certified. So that makes it a lot easier for people. If you haven't got time to research and you just look up your B Corp certified brands in your country and you'll find them, and then it takes a lot of pain out of it because then the choice is smaller. But there is more and more companies going this way because the shops won't stock clothing unless they have these standards. That's what's happening in Europe. So people don't have to worry so much. They just know that the standard is there. And that's going to take a long time to, you know, to filter through countries around the world. But, you know, the awareness is there that brands realize the consumer is much more aware. And so for them to have the certification at this point will bring them more business. The cost of doing that is cheaper than the cost of not doing it.
Yeah. Hopefully it doesn't take too long to come to Latin American as well, because yeah, it's a big difference and a big impact that can't wait too long
Yes.
for our future generations.
Yeah, so some of my clients have also told me that for them it's better to buy fast fashion because it's cheaper and they don't have the money. But then I ask them how many times are you going to wear that shirt, that pant, and if you buy something of better quality, it's going to last yeah, much more time. But yeah, we have to do a lot of work. For me, it was really, really, really amazing to meet you because it's very important. It's very important that we start educating people. And as I told you before, I was one of those consumers. I love to buy clothes and I didn't want to use the same clothes. I have to admit that. And now that I have more options to wear, and I I am proud every time I wear the same shirt or the same skirt with, as you said before,
Style, a style with a different
with a
style.
different, yeah,
Yeah.
a belt, a necklace, and yeah, I think this is very important. And one of my biggest takeaway from this conversation is that sustainability doesn't mean giving up on fashion, beauty, or personal style, but becoming more intentional about our choices, understanding why we buy, what we buy, how it was made, and how long it can remain part of our lives. So buy less and gain more. So,
And
Sue,
care.
final
Yeah.
question. Yes, final question. And thank you very much
For
for
your
this
time.
amazing conversation, for your time. You said that people should do research to learn more, but what about if they want to learn by receiving, I don't know, a class, a master class? Can they reach out to you or yeah, something like that, like a master class seminar or
like
to
don't
get
have
involved?
yeah, so they don't have to look up in through millions of sites or whatever.
Well, I
So
think it's really interesting that you say that because I think people are really thirsty for knowledge and they don't know where to go and they don't know where to look. I'm always evolving because of the need. As image consultants and belonging to an organization like AICI, we educate. But for the consumer, they don't belong to anything to have access to something like that. And I guess what troubles me is, across social media, you just can get a lot of incorrect information. So I think also people can be researching, but is it actually the facts? And I think that is right now really hard to know kind of what to believe. So I'm, always looking at ways to share the knowledge, and perhaps it's something that I can also look into is doing perhaps masterclasses to the general public on how to navigate your wardrobe and transition. In Australia, I do that in small groups, and I'm actually doing it to businesses right now. But maybe that's perhaps the next step is to have some global master classes on just navigating the transition, because it doesn't matter who you are, it doesn't matter what your budget is, this actually applies to everyone. And essentially it's because of global warming. And I think that the shifts in our weather is the motivator, that the emissions that our clothing creates from the making and the discarding is something that we have to all, every single person, take more responsibility for. So yes, I'd be certainly happy to explore the possibility. Perhaps you ladies can help me to
Of
for
to do
course,
sure.
of course.
some global
That's
masterclasses.
Yes, definitely. I'm going to invite you to know our community through a masterclass, through a workshop. We have to figure it out, but definitely
Yeah.
thank you because it's a very, very important topic.
Yeah.
And I love having this conversation with you. I don't know, time flew.
flat.
Yes. Thank you very much, Sue. Thank you, everybody. Diana, do you want to say something?
Yeah, so as always, so nice chatting with you, and thank you for educate us one more time. I think this is a very important topic that needs to be reminded all the time. So thank you for that. Thank you for all the work that you are doing. Thank you for contribute to our planet. So yeah, thank you. That's it.
Oh, it's my absolute pleasure because things are moving so rapidly. It's just great to be able to share and my reach get even further. So to all of your community, thank you for listening, and I hope it's been really helpful. If this is the first time that you've heard it, that maybe you'll just start to think a little bit differently, and care of our clothing is just now so important. So thank you so much for the time.
Thank you. And I'm going to write down to social media so people can follow you and be in touch with you and your community. will be also from Ecuador or
Yes.
Latin America.
So you can
I know you
Thank
already
you.
are, but
you can
hopefully, yeah,
expand more your
expand
your
more
message.
to educate more and more and more people. And thank you once again, Sue. It was very, very lovely to have this conversation with you.
Oh, thank you. And I'd love to see everyone on socials because I try very hard to put things on there that are educational, not just about, where I am in the world, but a real educational piece. So thank you very much, ladies. It's great to have this chat.
Thank you, Sue. Thank you, everybody. Bye bye.